Hey guys, and welcome back to Mental Fitness with Neha, the workout for your mind. So, on today's episode, we have with us Dr. Ashish Jaiswal. Dr. Ashish Jaiswal holds a doctorate and a master's in the field of education from the University of Oxford and is a research fellow at Oxford Center for Higher Education Policy Studies. He is also an author of 3 books: Fluid, True Dummy, and How to Reform a Business. So, hi Ashish sir, and thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you, Neha. Thank you for inviting me, and best of luck for your lovely initiative.
Let's start with talking about your book Fluid, because I found it very interesting and relevant to this the theme of the podcast in general. So in your book you talk about identity and purpose, etc. So do you think that our identities come from what we do as a person, and if it does, then is that the right way to think about it?
I would say that identity should not come from this question of what do we do, but rather who we are. See, the thing is that, in our entire educational journey, we are forced to think through this question of what do we do. So, right from the beginning, everyone asks us, and we are also kind of told, and we gear ourselves up to become engineers, doctors, investment bankers. And that I think is a general fallacy when we are defining our identity. Because what happens is that when you start thinking of who am I, then you are brought to fundamental skills, rather like imagination, curiosity, honesty, sincerity, reliability. So if you start acquiring these skills, then that identity is, I think, more assertive and is precious rather than an identity which you start basing on what do you do.
So basically, more than like thinking of it as a professional, this thing, it's more about the inherent skills that you have, like as a person. Okay.
Yeah, so because when the focus is, I think that one of the fundamental things which our education should teach us is that asking the right question. Because unless we are asking the right question, we will not be arriving at the right answers. So when your focus is not on what do I acquire rather than who am I, then your even your EQ and your sort of interpersonal relationship with other people and your own state of mind, that becomes the focus rather than you chasing something wild and unchaseable.
So, as you said, a lot of us have, after like maybe 10th and 12th standard, people are pressurized to, think like, what do you want to do in life? And that question keeps popping up. And, like teenagers, I think in general have at least I, from personal experience speaking, you have a sort of pressure to find your thing in life at this 18, 19 around. And, the fluid approach kind of advocates that it's okay to, fail, explore, falter, keep trying and discovering yourself. So where does one start in this journey of exploration when you have, like, you don't have much of an idea where to begin? So.
Right, right. So, it may sound very controversial and slightly sensational and slightly away from our conventional wisdom. I don't think so. There is anything anymore like what is my thing, because that is where the whole problem lies. And so, if I can explain it through a visual, uh, so this is an ecosystem, and you are like a particle in this ecosystem, and this ecosystem is changing dramatically, right? And it is, so what is the thing which is required from us, like, or what is the golden question? The golden question is that how you negotiate through the system happily, with lesser pain, with lesser sadness, and great if you excel this system. So what is required to negotiate through the system? So when you start thinking from that perspective, that I have to be a fit in this ecosystem, like I have to be that kind of a person who fits, and understands the ecosystem, deciphers this ecosystem. Then you start thinking that, okay, this ecosystem requires me to be money savvy. I need to be money savvy. Like, for example, one thing which I always hear from people is that, I don't want to be in a relationship or in friendship with boring people. So I understand that, this system requires us to be not bored. Now, what makes us not boring? Having enriched information, holding conversation. And how do you hold conversation? is by being a great storyteller. So you have to be a great storyteller, you have to be a reliable person, you have to be a friendly person. So if you start thinking from those skill sets, that I am friendly, reliable, money, what all is required for me to be fit in this system, I think that is a much evolved way of looking at how you are a fit or an adaptable person. You look at examples of successful people, even if you're looking at those who are kind of excelling in today's time, there's no thing for them. It's like being adaptable, maneuvering through the ecosystem, understanding the opportunity, where the opportunity is coming from, and being very fluid and adaptable in terms of acquiring that. So it's about how you create your own curriculum. It's not about what is spoon fed to you and what is told to you that, okay, these are the steps, and you take these steps and you're going to reach this university and that and this job and that job, rather than if you are focusing on your curriculum.
And this curriculum that you like, this self-built curriculum comes from your interests, like, so
Yeah.
the skills that I choose to develop would be based on my interests.
So it's a combination of two things. One is what you bring to the table, and what is happening in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
So obviously, I cannot develop a skill which is redundant in today's ecosystem. For example, like cartography. Today, if I learn cartography in that sense and say that I love to design maps, no matter how much you love it, you have to consider that this ecosystem requires something else. It's a combination of what I like, and it's also a combination of what the ecosystem is demanding.
What we see often is that scientists often have friends who are scientists. Artists are often in a circle of artists. Like-minded people often hang out with people who have the same mindset. So, how important, according to you, is the kind of company you keep, and also what kind of people should we, aim at surrounding ourselves with?
That's the very thing which we have to break, that we have to hang out with a similar cohort. As I explain in Fluid through the example of Steve Jobs, that he had two circle of friends, one artist, one engineer, and he was understanding and learning and engaging with both the groups with similar enthusiasm. And whereas there were a lot of people who kind of isolated themselves in their cocoon and say that, okay, no, I do not think that art has some kind of value, and they narrow themselves without actually understanding the interlinking of art and science. That's why you should not resist hanging out with people who bring different mindset. The more you will hang out with people with diverse background and diverse interests, the more your mind is going to become alert and curious and imaginative. Of course, you would not want to hang out with people who are toxic. So you have to then build a mind which is curious and is ready to engage, but is also capable to understand that this is a toxic situation and I don't want to hang out in this situation because it's bullying or it's condescending, it is trying to harm my mind. Because you are going to come across a lot of situations where people are going to kind of ridicule you, people are going to question you, and in that situation your mind has to understand that I'm ready to face that, so I can avoid toxic people, toxic situation, and I will rather hang out with people who are diverse and are open to discussion on a very learner's mindset, on a very sort of a evolved plane.
So you should make sure that you expand your circle of people, not only people who are similar in your profession or things like that, but also avoid people who are toxic.
Yes. And it also depends on your strength. Like for example, me, I have now developed a very thick skin. And when I was at your age, I gave up on mainstream careers 20 years back. And initially I did face issues because obviously at that time in the society there was no other alternative career or understanding of beyond the mainstream realms.
Yeah.
So you start hearing things, and even if they are not direct, you would understand through body language and gesture where people will be like, okay, they would try to kind of bring you down. And then you have to start developing the thick skin, and slowly your mind becomes stronger and stronger. And I have developed a state where I'm open to any kind of criticism, any kind of bantering, any kind of anything. Obviously, it's a function of time, and it's
Yeah.
also a function of what you want from your life.
Right. Also, in your book, you talk about this quote by Bruce Lee, which is about being like water. I honestly loved it when I read at the book. And could you explain that analogy of why one should be like water?
When he say in that interview that be water my friend, and he kind of goes on saying that, if you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. If you put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. If you put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Be water my friend. So what I understand from that is that he's talking about adaptability and having a mindset, which I call learner's mindset, which is absolutely open in any situation to take any form of learning which can improve me and then start working on it. A mind which is as fluid and as adaptable as possible. And one of the things which stops your mind from being like water is arrogance. A lot of people, before they achieve anything, they develop arrogance. University you go to, I'm in this university, that university. I've read this, I've read that. I belong to this family, or I am, I possess this. Now, if you are arrogant, you are like ice. You will break. And water is not arrogant. It takes the shape without even giving much consideration to its own identity. It takes the shape of wherever you put the water in. And that is a learner's mindset that, I'm not arrogant about what I have already achieved in my life. What else can I achieve? And that is like being water.
Also, in your book, you say that each learner has every right to wander, withdraw, fail at any junction in their journey. And however, today when you often face a setback, it takes a big toll on your mental health, and you think of just quitting altogether. So, what is the right approach of dealing with failures and setbacks, according to you?
Failure is a function of when you're trying new things or when you've not given 100%, right? Now, if you are collecting memories and experiences, then you are trying. And when you are trying new things and failing, that's not failure. So that's one definition which I think that people have to correct in their mind. That if you do not want to have a life, so what is being alive? Being alive is having experiences which are not like a factory conveyor belt, which are like, okay, I arrived as a human being and I did this, that, failed, success, failed, and it's a sum total of everything.
Right.
So, I mean, if somebody gives me a chance to be, this is going to be your trajectory versus I don't know what is your trajectory, I will any day take, I don't know what is my trajectory. Because if you tell me what I have in store, that's not life, that's not being alive. So failure is nothing but your attempt at enriching your life. You can very well safely stop failing. Like, for example, you can be no failure if you say that, okay, today I'm going to stop from wherever I am, and I would say that I'm not going to move and make any attempts and stay here and live a life which is already there with me. You will never fail. But then you would have compromised on a life which could be uncertain and not a wanderer life. So I think that first we have to understand, process it inside, then what is failure and why am I failing if I'm giving 100%? And it's like because I want to live. So if I do not explore, then how am I going to understand what life is? I'm not here to create a label of success or failure in the end. I'm here to live.
I really like the perspective. It's like it's a new perspective on failure, which you just mentioned. So that's interesting. So with all your experience that you have so far at Oxford, what would be like your one piece of advice for high school students or college students right now?
I truly believe that this is an era where you're not defined by your university. You will never be defined by your university. I'm again coming back to your curriculum, is your own curriculum. You will have to arrive at a curriculum which is continuously evolving, which is continuously getting better with the ecosystem and in comparison to the ecosystem. And you are learning through that curriculum. If you have a mindset that I am going to go to this university and this university is going to save me in life by giving me, a cushiony job or a prestige, I think that time is over and that era is over. You're not what your university is. If I can get this across, that it is about your curriculum, it's about what you create, and you say that, okay, this is the skill set I require, this is the opportunity which I see, this is the skill which I don't have, and I'll probably learn from someone. And this curriculum which you create, which is different from where you say that, okay, I have cleared this entrance, I've gone into this university, I've cleared SAT, and
Yeah.
now I'm applying, and then and then suddenly you will find yourself that, oh my god, why am I chasing, and why am I not reaching where I want to? Because one, you are seeing your life with an old formula, and that old formula is not applicable anymore. So it also reduces the pressure on you, that if you're not getting into Ivy Leagues or Princetons or Stanfords or Harvards and Oxfords, it is actually not, it is nothing. In fact, I have to share this, that once you are over it and you have your own curriculum, like the great minds who have contributed greatly, you will realize that they are beyond the universities. And if you are an exceptional mind, you get into these universities, still you're not going to need your own curriculum. You're still going to need your own curriculum. So either this way or that way, you will need your curriculum. And if you do not get into it, celebrate. I mean, I would say that celebrate. Do not, I mean, I didn't go into Oxford doing my undergrad. So, I mean, I failed. I mean, I was supposed to become a doctor, but I did not. And I failed. And it's like, celebrate your failures, because life is giving you an opportunity to experience. And if you're not getting into these universities 10 years down the line, 15 years down the line, if you have a solid, robust curriculum of your own, you are going to excel. And don't let a label define you. Don't let a label define you. And I think that that's very important for any high school kid.
Speaking from personal experience, I know that like this is a fact that people often like after you're 12, during that time your university is like your main, right, like your thing. There's a lot of pressure involved, and the idea of designing your own curriculum regardless of your
Absolutely.
and formal education is an idea which I think is very common in all the great minds that you've mentioned as well. Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure. Okay. This is a special segment of the show which is called The Happy Place. We often have, we get into emotional lows. However, all of us have either a person, a place, a ritual, or something that we, do, which just lights us up. So, what is your happy place?
Okay. I have lots of happy places, by the way.
Hmm.
One of my recent happy places is being my daughters have got this cat which is Oscar, called Oscar. So I mean, when I'm in the presence of Oscar, I'm very happy. When I'm in presence of my daughters, I'm very happy. When I'm in presence of my wife, I'm very happy. When I am in presence of friends, I'm very happy. But apart from all that, and this may sound crazy, but I am also very happy with myself, and I go on long walks. And sort anything out, I go on walks, and I've never missed it. And I talk to myself, and would deliberate and understand, and try to plan, and try to, if there's an issue, I would try to calm myself down. And I think that also is a happy place for me.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay, so coming to the last question of the show. So now imagine that if all your life experiences till today have taught you one thing, what is like the one mental fitness tip that you live by, which has greatly served you, or something which someone would have told you, when you were younger? So yeah, what's like the one mental fitness tip you live by?
but it's in your hand, it's not another person's hand.
Hmm.
It's in
Okay.
your hand. So the power rests with you. The power doesn't rest with anyone else. So your fitness and your happiness and your stress and your pressure rests with you. People cannot rattle you unless you're ready to be rattled.
Wow. Okay, that's very powerful. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Hmm. Okay, so that's the most concise answer you've given actually, and that's like it's very hard hitting. Yeah. Okay. So thank you for that answer. And like I think with that we come to the conclusion of our questions. So thank you so much for being on the show. And I think everyone, like all the people who see this, will have a lot to learn and take away. So thank you, and it was like really amazing to learn from you and have you on the show.